check out my music. I drop 7 songs every Friday. Every Friday, 7 songs. I'm doing a song a day challenge for the goals to drop a song a day until the end of the year, until December-ish. 300 plus songs is the goal. So this past Friday, I dropped the Aurora pack, the Aurora pack, and it's great. I really like it, and I think you will too. So link in the description if you want to check out my music. Yeah. Okay. We've been reading through the book of Samuel, 1 Samuel, the Bible. Very interesting story thus far. Where we left off was chapter 12. Samuel gave his farewell speech and warned the Israelites, basically saying, yo, you've rejected God as king and you've asked for this human king, and fair enough. And listen, man, if you obey your king and you listen to God, I think things will go well for you. But if you don't, you shall see. You shall walk around and you shall find out. You shall walk around and you shall find out. So now in chapter 13, it's it's titled Samuel Rebukes Saul. What has he done? Let's find out. Saul was 30 years old when he became king. He reigned over Israel for 42 years. Damn! 42 years? Imagine having like most of y'all from the States, imagine having Joe Biden for 42 years. Well, obviously, like, he should be dead, but just imagine Joe Biden for 42 years. He might not even have 2 years left in him, to be honest. Anyway, Saul chose 3,000 men from Israel. 2,000 were with him at Michmash. I'm going to say Michmash. Michmash, and in the hill country of Bethel, and 1,000 were with Jonathan at Gibeah in Benjamin. The rest of the men he sent back to their homes. Jonathan attacked the Philistine outpost. And the Philistines, wait, hold on, who's Jonathan? Pretty sure it's the Jonathan I'm thinking about. Jonathan attacked the Philistines at the Philistine outpost at Geba. The Philistines heard about it. Then Saul had the trumpet blown throughout the land and said, "Let the Hebrews hear." So all Israel heard the news. Saul has attacked the Philistine outpost, and now Israel has become an offense to the Philistines. And the people were summoned to join Saul at Gilgal. The Philistines assembled to fight Israel with 3,000 chariots, 6,000 charioteers, and soldiers as numerous as the sand on the seashore. That's a lot of sand. As numerous as sand on the seashore? Imagine that, but soldiers. That's a lot of soldiers. It's a lot of soldiers, man. They went up and camped at Michmash, east of Beth Haven. When the men of Israel saw that their situation was critical and that their army was hard-pressed, they hid in caves and thickets, among the rocks and in pits and cisterns. Some Hebrews even crossed the Jordan to the land of Gad and Gilead. Saul remained at Gilgal, and all the troops with him were quaking with fear. He waited 7 days, the time set by Samuel. But Samuel did not come to Gilgal, and Saul's men began to scatter. So he said, "Bring me the burnt offering and the fellowship offerings." It says here in the footnote, traditionally these were peace offerings. And Saul offered up the burnt offering. So who's he offering it up to? To God? Or to some other spirits? Just as he finished making the offering, my bad, Samuel arrived, and Saul went out to greet him. "What have you done?" asked Samuel. Saul replied, "When I saw that the men were scattering and that you did not come at the set time, and that the Philistines were assembling at Michmash, I thought, now the Philistines will come down against me at Gilgal, and I have not sought the Lord's favor. So I felt compelled to offer the burnt offering." "You acted foolishly," Samuel said. "You have not kept the command the Lord your God gave you. If you had, you would have established your kingdom over Israel for all time. But now your kingdom will not endure. The Lord has sought out a man after his own heart and appointed him leader of his people, because you have not kept the Lord's command." Then Samuel left Gilgal and went up to Gibeah in Benjamin, and Saul counted the men who were with him. They numbered about 600. So it went down significantly from the thousands of chariots and charioteers and the soldiers as numerous as the sand on the beach. It went down to 600. And I think the crime he committed was probably a ritual crime in my mind. Something to do with the ceremony he held, the ritual ceremony, whatever. Like, I'm sure that at some point during his sacrifice, he did something sacrilegious or blasphemous or something like that. Something along those lines. That was a grave offense. I think he had to wait for Samuel because Samuel knew what he was doing. So when he didn't wait for Samuel and he did it himself, he probably did something stupid, and in doing so incurred the Lord's wrath. But it's like a question I would have is, what is he supposed to do? Because Samuel was late. He didn't show up at the appointed time. And the men were scattering. The situation was looking bad. The enemies were closing in. He was like, I'm gonna have to do this myself. I think he took the only path It seems like he took the only part that he saw was available to him, right? Why get punished for that? I'm just trying to figure out. Let's read the remainder of the chapter, and then we'll dissect this. Saul and his son Jonathan and the men with them were staying in Gibeah in Benjamin, while the Philistines camped at Michmash. Raiding parties went out from the Philistine camp in 3 detachments. One turned towards Ophrah in the vicinity of Shaul, another towards Beth Horon, and the third towards the borderland overlooking the valley of Zeboim, facing the desert. Not a blacksmith could be found in the whole land of Israel, because the Philistines had said, otherwise the Hebrews will make swords or spears. So I guess the Philistines got rid of the blacksmiths so that the Hebrews couldn't make weapons. Okay, so all Israel went down to the Philistines to have their plowshares, mattocks, axes, and sickles sharpened. The price was 2/3 of a shekel for sharpening plowshares and mattocks, and 1/3 of a shekel for sharpening forks and axes and for repointing goads. So on the day of the battle, not a soldier with Saul or Jonathan had a sword or spear in his hand. Only Saul and his son Jonathan had them. Jeez, that's trash. Damn. Imagine you're fighting an army and you don't have weapons. Only you and your son have weapons. Well, that equals death. We'll see what happens to the homies. So that's the end of chapter 13. We'll see what happens chapter 14. Don't have weapons. Okay. So I went online and then Googled commentary on Samuel chapter 13 just to get other people's perspective on it, and it's actually profound what went wrong here with Samuel's and with Saul's decision making. So you have to understand the context, right? They're at Michmash, and Samuel told them, like, wait 7 days for me to get there, and then I will pray to the Lord for you so that you can gain his favor and win this battle, right? Just wait for me to get there, and I will perform the ritual, the sacrifice, and then everything will be gravy. And up until this point, things went well whenever Saul listened to Samuel, whenever Saul just obeyed what he was being told. Things always went well. And just in the history of the Israelites, whenever they listened to God and obeyed his commands, things went well, without fail. So, now you look at the situation. Samuel's late. He hasn't shown up. The men are scattering. They're scared because the Philistines are closing in. And it's not looking good. So Saul is like, you know what? Like, Samuel's late. Let me just hold this ritual myself. Let me just make this offering myself. And in doing that, he showed a lack of patience and a lack of faith. Because now he's taken matters into his own hands. Instead of saying, look, God works in mysterious ways. God has his own timing. Let's just trust God. And some people might be like, that's kind of crazy though. But even in my own life, I've seen that, right? I told this story about, it's crazy. I told this story about how that trip I went on, obviously the stakes are much lower in this case. It's just a trip. But I was going on a trip, a school trip. And basically there was a time limit I had to pay a certain amount of money. And by paying that money, I'll be putting myself in a risky situation because then I'd have to come up with even more money afterwards. So my choices were, don't pay the money and just don't go on the trip, or pay the money and then somehow magically, because that money was not refundable, after you pay that non-refundable sum, you have to come up with another sum of cash that also has another deadline. And if you're unable to pay that amount, you're not going on the trip and you've just given away money, basically. So I had to make a decision. And time was running out. I think we had like a day or two left or something. And I was like, and I had the amount we needed after we paid that other amount was so astronomical. I was like, I don't know how we're gonna get that money. But a friend at the time just told me, just pay the amount and we'll pray and we'll trust that something will happen, that God will just do something. So we paid the amount, and I kid you not, the next day, we got an email saying everything's been discounted. Da 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 da. It got discounted to the extent that we had more than enough all of a sudden to go on the trip, for me to have pocket money. And yeah, it was perfect. It was perfect. And it was like a test of faith. It was like, it looks bad right now, but just trust, just move, take a leap of faith, you know? And I think in this context, obviously the stakes were much higher, but you are the king of Israel. You need to lead by example. Samuel said, wait 7 days. He said, wait for me, really. Wait for me to get there. And then I will intercede with God on your behalf. And I'll seek his favor in this battle by making an offering. And Saul chose to take matters into his own hand. Instead of waiting, he's like, fuck that, I'm doing this myself. And it was a test. I think Samuel was late on purpose. Because he showed up after Saul made the sacrifice. That's when he decided to show up. Pop up, I'm here, bitch. He's like, Saul's like, where you been, bro? And Samuel's like, listen, you've done a terrible thing. If you'd listened, your kingdom would have been established forever. Now it's going to be cut short, and yeah. And then to make matters worse, the Philistines gained a monopoly on all steel production. They got rid of the blacksmiths in Israel, and they were in charge of all Israelites, the farmers and whatnot, getting weapons, sharpening their gardening, the agricultural tools, and all that stuff. And the Philistines basically monopolized that market, that industry. So by doing that, they crippled the army, the Israelite army, and Jonathan and Saul were the only two people in the Israelite army with weapons. And that's how it ends. Which is a dire situation. Oh, and they only have 600 men. On top of all that, they only have 600 men. They went from soldiers as countless as sand on the seashore to 600 men. And of that group, only 2 of them have weapons. It's bad. So we'll see what happens to the homies, man. We'll see what happens. It's not looking good. But the moral of the story is have faith, man. When things are looking bad, when things are looking fucking terrible, and you don't know where help is gonna come from, and it's just the walls are closing in on you. Have faith, pray, and trust that God will keep his promise. Just trust him. Just trust him. In the context of the Israelites, up until this point, God has constantly shown up for them and proved that he cares and that he will save them if they can just believe, just trust. I think God requires us to meet him halfway a lot of the time. I think he just wants us to show even a little bit of faith. All Saul had to do was wait. Just wait, bro. Wait. Fuck these other niggas that are running away. Their day will come. God will deal with them. You stay put and trust what you've been told. So he failed to do that. So now, he's going to pay the price for that. So yeah, great chapter. Great message. Yeah, you really have to dig deep for that one. I had to Google what's going on there, because I was like, wow, why is he getting punished for this? I think it's a very intellectual thing, right? Like, it makes sense. The homie's late. The guy that's supposed to seek God's favor on your behalf, the favor that will help you win the battle, he's late. Your men are scattering. The walls are closing in. If you just do this one thing, you might give yourself a chance in battle. It makes sense that I think most people would just go do the thing that would give you a chance, right? But humans are stupid, and we shouldn't trust our own intellect. We should trust God. So yeah, let's pray and get out of here. That was a good chapter. I hope you learned something. Dear God, I thank you for this individual watching this right now. Thank you for blessing them and making them whole and unique, and that you're guiding them on a prosperous path, one that allows them to fulfill the potential you've imbued in them. And this potential is astronomical. It's infinite. And every day we're given a chance, Lord God, to fulfill that and work our way towards that ideal. And I thank you that you're blessing this individual with good health, long life, and happiness, and that you've blessed them with incredible friends and family, and you're also introducing new people into their life, and you're protecting those people, and you're blessing those people. I thank you that you've made provision of peace and prosperity and happiness. So yeah, thank you for all the good things in this world, all the good things in our life, every part of our body that works, every part of our life that works. And I pray that you continue to bless us in this regard. In my name I pray. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. 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 Amen.